Hey guys, it's Alicia from the Soap Palace, and I wanted to pop on here real quick to do a really brief video. I haven't been on here for a while because I'm still in nursing school, but my mom wants me to make some soap for her. I made some soap for her a few months ago, and the thing about my mom is she has a lot of allergies. She has contact dermatitis, and she will turn red and blister and all sorts of weird things if she touches anything like nickel or anything with nickel in it. So a lot of her jewelry she can no longer wear, certain plastics, silicones, that sort of thing. So the soap that I'm going to be making today is just a pure Castile soap, 100% extra virgin olive oil, and she even provided me with the kind of olive oil she wanted. I sterilized all of my soaping materials that I'm using right now with bleach water, which I usually clean them and sterilize them anyway, but I really wanted to make sure and be very careful because she does have such severe allergies. But other than that, I just wanted to pop on here and do a quick Castile soap video, and it's great for beginners if you're a beginner. So
Alright,
here we go.
so I have my scale, and I'm going to be using this whole bottle of olive oil. But what I learned from the last time that I made soap for her was it says 16.9 ounces, but really it is more than that usually. So I always turn on my scale and measure, because if I don't, then my calculations will be wrong and then my soap will be all wonky. So I'm gonna put it on ounces. Okay. Oh, this one was less than. This says that it was 15.7 ounces of oil. So you paid for 16.9, but you got 15.7. So that's why you always want to weigh your oils, even if the bottle says a certain thing. So now, oh, by the way, organic extra virgin olive oil. My mom got this at Trader Joe's. And it does make wonderful soap. So put that bottle to the side. Now I'm gonna try to pull up the website that I have used in the past, because I want to show you guys, especially the beginning soapers, how to calculate the lye versus oil ratio.
Here's the website. You go to soapcalc.net, soapcalc.net, and you can choose from all different sorts of oils. And I'm going to look for the olive oil. Okay. And I'm just choosing regular olive oil because it's not olive oil pomace. There is a difference. And I'm going to add it here. Let's see if I can still see you. Okay, good. And I'm going to go by weight of oils and do ounces. Mine was 15.7. And over here is a super fat. I am only going to do 2% super fat. Super fat is the amount of oil remaining after saponification. That's what gives you a moisturizing bar, and you can control how moisturizing the bar is by the super fat. A good number to go with is about 5 if you want a very moisturizing bar. If you want a more cleansing bar, you lower the super fat, and my mom wants this bar to be cleansing. And if you want it to be a little bit higher, that's okay too, but you have to remember that whatever oil is not saponified in your soap it runs a risk of going rancid, and it can make your soap go rancid. So, okay, so when you are ready and you have everything input the way that you want it, like I have here, 15.7 ounces of oils, 15.7 ounces of olive oil, which would make it 100% of my recipe. I'm going to go down here and calculate the recipe. After you calculate your recipe, you want to go to view or print, and it will open up a new page. And this is where it tells you what you need. I need 5.966 ounces of water, 2.08 ounces of lye. in order to reach the desired superfat and reach the desired soap quality. And you can see it here. That hardness, it's pretty soft. It's kind of on the soft side. Cleansing, very low. This is 0, but who knows? Conditioning is very high. Creamy, meh. So I usually add more than just one oil in my soaps, but Castile soap has been shown to be very conditioning. See, 82. And it's something that my mom can use.
On to the fun stuff. Okay, so since this is already in liquid form, I don't have to heat it up. Nice and pretty. Usually if you have solids, you want to warm them just enough to where they're melted. You don't want to overheat. Okay, so going by the recipe that we just saw, I'm going to need 5.966 ounces of water. And I need to zero out the container that I'm going to put my water in. So press 0. And I need 5.966. So I'm going to do 6 because mine doesn't go any further than the tenths. 5.5 there now, 5.6. Okay, and that's 6. So I have my water, I have my oils, and this is the mold I'm going to be using. This is actually a mold that my melt and pour soap came in. So it's actually perfect for this size of a batch. I've used this mold once before for my mom's soap. She's not allergic to this kind of plastic, so we're good. All of this is stainless steel, and she didn't have a reaction. And it's always really nice to know that the soap that you make is not going to cause reactions in people, especially sensitive people like my mother. The first time that I made the soap for her, I was unsure about how she would react to it because, you know, you just never know. When she was completely fine, I was like, wow, that's awesome, because now I can make soap for people with sensitive skin, like highly sensitive skin. All my other soap is very good for sensitive skin, but people who have severe allergies, you always want to be really careful. Okay, so same thing for the lye. I'm going to zero out my scale. And I need 2.08 ounces of lye, so I'm actually going to do about 2. So it'll be a little bit more super fatted, but that's okay because really you can't get an exact measurement on a scale like this. It does go up to the tenths, but it's not going to be exact. So I'm putting on my gloves and I'm putting on my personal protective equipment because lye is highly caustic and it can be dangerous, and you know the drill. So always protect yourself. It can burn your skin. Have some vinegar on hand so that way if you do get some on your skin, it'll neutralize that. You want white vinegar. So gloves, eye goggles, all that good stuff. All right. So I'm going to take my lye and measure out 2 ounces. Okay, now I have 2 ounces of lye. I'm going to carefully and slowly add my lye to my water. And I'm choosing to use a stainless steel spoon. I have used wood in the past, but it tended to splinter because the lye water is so caustic and it gets so hot. always add lye to water, never water to lye, because you can get a lye explosion if you add it in the opposite way. So lye always to water. Add it slowly and in a well-ventilated area. At this point, if you have small children or animals, you may want to put your children or animals outside if it's a nice sunny day, or make sure that they are somewhere else distracted and they are not going to interrupt you during this part of the process. Lye creates fumes when it is in the water, and they can be very irritating to lungs. Hence the reason I have this nice lid, and I like to swish my lye around like so with the lid on so that the fumes are trapped inside. You can also do this over your stove with the vent on from your microwave or something above it, or some sort of vent. But I like to use this lid as kind of a barrier, and I like to swish my lye solution around in this bucket because, as you can see, it becomes clear that way as well, and you're not exposed to the fumes. Okay. Also, for the newbie soapers, when lye hits water, it creates a chemical reaction, and it's exothermic, which means that it heats up. So you want your oils and your lye to be around the same temperature. Obviously, my oils are not heated up at all. So I'm going to put this lye in an ice bath, and I will come back after I've shown you that and when the lye is at the proper temperature. Okay, we are back. Our lye water has been situated in a ice bath in the sink. So just put a little bit of cold water in there with a bunch of ice, set my tub in that ice bath until the temperature came down to the desired temp. Now, whenever you are making soap, you need to temp your oils and temp your lye. I have 2 candy thermometers to do this. So this is a candy thermometer, and I just put this in my olive oil, and right now it's reading at about 72 degrees, so around room temperature. Set this aside. Now, my lye water is reading about 72 degrees. When you soap, generally you want your lye and your oils to be around 100 degrees. They can be less than that. You don't want them over 110 degrees, because when you combine the lye and the oil, again, it's a chemical reaction, and as soap cures, it heats up first. Well, as it saponifies. So you want soap generally at a lower temperature, especially if you're going to do things like swirling or putting any additives in. Sometimes if you're adding fragrance oil, it'll accelerate trace if it's a higher temperature. So generally when I soap, I like to do it around 90 degrees, but people have their different preferences. So as long as it's 110 or below, or 70 and above. Okay, so that's kind of your parameters there. Now comes the fun part. So I'm going to add my lye water to my oils. You'll notice I brought my spoon because pouring the lye water over something like a spoon minimizes the splash that you get when adding it to the oils. Believe me, you don't want the stuff to splash on your skin. Okay? Right to the last drop. All right. Let's see if I can get you guys a closer look. You can already see that it's starting to saponify. It's turning into a nice milky kind of color. Okay. I like to have a bit of saran wrap or a bit of plastic somewhere so that way I can lay my utensils. Usually if I'm making a larger batch, I will cover my counter in either like newspaper or some sort of paper, so that way if any drips get on it, it will get on the newspaper and not be all over my counter. Okay, so stick blending is wonderful. It negates the need for a whisk, basically. Speeds up the saponification process, or the rate that you need to get to trace, and I'll show you what trace is here in a second. However, you want to make sure you burp your stick blender, which means kind of come in at an angle so that way there are no bubbles, so the air bubbles don't get in your soap. And also, it's kind of loud, so as I blend this, I'll probably take out the sound and put in some music or something. So here we go. Okay, so here we are at light trace. Light trace means that when you pick up your stick blender and you kind of wiggle it over your soap, you can see a faint line of where that soap is falling back into the pan. I don't know if you can see it on here. Something about using room temperature oils and room temperature lye is that it's hard to get to a medium and a thick trace because the heat isn't there to force that into becoming thicker. This is like a very runny pudding. A medium trace is like a thicker pudding, and a very heavy trace, basically you can like plop your soap into things. But it's hard when the heat isn't there to do that. So actually, this soap will sit in the mold for probably about 2 days, 48 hours. Generally, you can mold soap in about 24 hours, but since it was very, it was combined at a very low heat, it will take a little bit longer for it to saponify. So now I'm going to pour into the mold. Just let it flow freely. This would be the perfect consistency to swirl other colors in. However, I have not added anything to this soap because, like I said, it's from my mom, who is allergic to everything but air. So I'd rather not take the chance that this wonderful soap won't work out for her. So, and again, soap is good to the last drop, so I like to scrape out every single bit of it that I can get. Okay. I tap my mold to bring any air bubbles that may be in my soap to the surface so that they can pop, so I don't get little holes in my soap. They're not anything that's necessarily bad, but they're kind of unsightly. Okay. And I had a skewer here so that maybe I could do some texturing on the top. However, at this consistency, there isn't really going to be a whole lot of difference made by swirling anything. So I would have to wait for this to set up a little bit and then come back to kind of texture the tops. But you can use a skewer, you can use a spoon, you can use whatever you like. One of the patterns you can do is going side to side, especially when you use different colors. That looks nice. And then you can go back the other way. Another pattern is a figure 8. You can do through your soap. There's all sorts of things. Okay. And now I'm going to place a lid on this soap, and I'm going to wrap it in some towels because it doesn't really have a whole lot of heat to begin with, and I would like it to saponify. So I'm placing the lid on so that way I don't get soda ash. Soda ash is a white substance that sometimes stands on the surface of your soap wherever it was closest to the air. So this stuff wouldn't get it, but the top would get it. And there are a lot of theories on why soda ash happens. Some of it is because you have a thinner soap, or the humidity in your air, but that's another topic for another day. So here we go. This is Castile soap, 100% olive oil, and I may pop on here to show you the finished product, but that's how it is, and I hope my mom really likes it.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this little tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in my comments, and hopefully I can come on here a little more often and do fun things like this. And if you're a new soap maker, congratulations, and it's so much fun. And if you have any advice for anybody, if you're a seasoned soap maker, also you can feel free to put those in my comments as well. Okay, I'll catch you later, guys.